Imagine, if you will, an economic system in which everything is perfect all the time and no one pays for anything ever. This is, in a sense, socialism. Except it's not. Why is it not? Well, that's a complicated question to answer, and one I will now attempt to answer. The French Revolution. The French Revolution was, in some form or other, the birth of socialism on a global scale. It was not necessarily a socialist revolution, but instead was a time in which socialist ideals could flourish intellectually. Of course, the stage on which the revolution took place was perfectly set for anti-bourgeois feelings and desires for redistribution of wealth. Everyone was broke, except those who weren't. And they were really not broke, so the broke pleaded with the not broke. "Please give us food," they would cry, only to be met by lies of, "Food machine broke." This is where we meet Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Rousseau and the French Revolution go together like the French and surrendering. His philosophies had a resounding effect on the general populace, and his ideas didn't stray far from socialism. Although Rousseau did not outright reject personal property, he did believe in the general will of the people, which he discussed in the social contract. There were, of course, other influences of the time, such as Gabriel Bonneau de Malby, who stressed the importance of universal equality in humans. And then there was François-Noël Babeuf, a French revolutionary who believed in a form of forced communism. He rooted his ideas in those of the Jacobins and the Revolution, but was more focused on the unconsenting masses conforming to his idea of freedom, which in reality was only freedom from possession. The Communist Manifesto. Undoubtedly the most momentous publication in socialist history was that of the Communist Manifesto, written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, the Mario and Luigi of communism. The book contained an explanation of what came to be known as Marxism, and featured an in-depth discussion on the ethics of production, distribution, and the role of the state in such matters. After its initial publication, the book fell into obscurity for more than 2 decades, not rising to mass popularity until the 1870s. Sales, the publication of new editions, and the number of languages the book was translated into skyrocketed, as Engels and Marx became 2 of the most influential men in socialist theory. By the time of the 1917 October Revolution in Russia, the book had become so prolific that it had practically become the constitution of the new Soviet Union. Not only was Marxism the ideology of the founders, but the future policies of the nation were expected to remain in accordance with Marxist and Leninist thought. Speaking of Leninism,
Hello.
welcome to the USSR. Everyone's poor, people are dying of starvation at an unprecedented rate, and the gulags are the closest thing to hell on earth that the far north has ever seen. But at least the world finally has a fully socialist state, right? Wrong. If you call that socialism, then Tor Johnson can write a decent script, and I'm not recording this narration on my phone. Leninism, the political ideology that fueled the creation of this nightmare of a country, is essentially just an interpretation of Marxism, and it conspicuously borrows many ideas from the manifesto. Now, what do you get when you mix a politically unstable Russia with the promise of a utopia under a new economic system? The Russian Revolution. The Russian Revolution was led by the Bolsheviks, and more specifically, Vladimir Lenin. Lenin brought forth a rebellion of the people the likes of which the world hadn't seen since 1776. In less than 8 months, the Tsarist autocracy of the Russian Empire was disassembled and replaced with the new Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The legitimacy of the socialism practiced in this union is questionable at best. Since it was the first of its kind, it's hard to criticize how close to a true socialist republic it was. It's not hard to criticize it for its total lack of humanity, however, with crimes against nature far outnumbering the amount of seconds I have left to speak on this voiceover. And so the USSR is the note we must end on, and it's a note that makes it very clear why European socialism in the 19th and early 20th century is a somewhat sensitive topic to discuss.